Welcome to Bitwig 2.2. So this is my favorite DAW, and today I'm going to show you my top 5 reasons why I'm using it and its advantages over most DAWs that are out there. Bitwig is still very young. We're talking about 2 to 3 years or something, and I've been with them from the beginning and, messing with all their capabilities, which I'm going to show you today, or at least some of them. So the coolest thing about Bitwig that I would like to start with is that it's basically a modular synthesizer. So you can wire anything with anything in this awesome DAW. So what does it mean? Well, normally I'm sure you're familiar that you can do all sorts of modulations in a synthesizer. Well, in Bitwig you can really modulate anything towards anything else. So I went ahead and built some sounds here, so you don't have to wade through it. And I will probably do some tutorials and much more videos on the program. But for now, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to modulate something here and what can come out of it. So if we just hit play for now, I'll show you what we got. Pretty basic, just some bassy plugs. You can see them here. It's really easy just to see. And then this is the Poly 7th, which is Bitwig's native, synthesizer. One of them kind of similar to the operator, but a little more intuitive from the user interface. So if we go ahead and we feel like, okay, we want to add an LFO, let's add an LFO. You just type LFO. It's one of the many ways to add a modulator. Here it is. So let's just put it, maybe not sync it, put it a little slower. And modulation in Bitwig is as easy as that. We have added a modulator, and now we're gonna put it towards something. So we hit play, and we could just maybe change the shape of the waveform. And you can see the modulation taking place right here. Pretty straightforward, right? The coolest thing is we still have it selected, so we can really easily go into the rest of our chain and start messing with the rest of the parameters. Maybe expand the top end a bit from the delay. Change the resonance on the filter a bit. The filter frequency. And as you can see, that was it. I mean, I'm going slow here, so you could actually just put a modulator on it and go crazy with it. We just deactivate this and we got our modulation set. And of course, there's no shortage of modulation options here, so you can just, you have a ton of modulators. For the ease of it, I'll just use the classic LFO now. You could of course set a faster one. You can see the preview here, and put that on several things. Let's put it on, I don't even know, sync? A little bit more than 2 octaves. And we can, change the feedback down, which is not a practical thing to do, but oh well. Maybe make that bipolarness go away so it only hits to one side. And that was that, we can really easily modulate stuff. And we can also, of course, hit other modulators they have in here, like a simple envelope, and put it on the pitch, which will sound terrible, but it will demonstrate how easy it is to just get started with modulation. See? We could also, of course, put it in something else. And if you do this with a very fine hand, you will eventually come up with some really cool modulations that in other DAWs would take forever to build. Keep track. filter sharpness. You know, the sky's the limit. So for now, I hope you get the depth of this. So we can even include other plugins here, third-party plugins, and have them, you know, go the same way. So we can include them in the chain, which you see here by this blue bar, which means it's all part of the same chain. And any of the modulators that we include here in the beginning can affect the whole chain. So basically, you can connect anything to anything you can think of. And of course, this doesn't only apply to synthesizers, it can also apply to Ableton's own sampler, which is pretty much like the one in Ableton Live, and all the other instruments. So modulate everything. If you've always been wanting to modulate everything and feel a little let down that you are always facing some kind of wall in terms of, you know, what you can do with your DAW when you create the sounds that are going on in your head maybe, or just trying out some chaos things, Bitwig really takes the cake, because so far, you know, it's kind of similar to Ableton Live, Max for Live, but as opposed to Ableton, this whole modulation engine has been built into Bitwig from the beginning, and it's not like a patchwork solution later that got incorporated as Max for Live did in Ableton version 10. But it's all been built up into it from the beginning. So because this program is really new compared to the other flagships that are out there, it's really cool because the architecture is fresh. And some of the best minds of Ableton have started or left Ableton Live to build this product. And it's weird me referring to it as a product because it's really become my home. I do anything that I do with music, I do in Bitwig now, because after getting used to all these modulation capabilities, it's really hard to go back, you know. So that's some demonstration of the modulate everything capability, which I really love. What else can I show you that is really awesome about Bitwig? Well, if we take these modulators away for now so we don't get overly confused and listen to what we have again. Really basic, right? One of the cool things about Bitwig is that, well, I'll just show you here. We have a timeline here that you're familiar with, because most DAWs have this sort of timeline. And I built some other tracks, you know, just to have something to show. And this is a pad, cheesy, simple pad without any processing on it. Straightforward, right? And if you've been familiar with Ableton, you have something they call a clip launcher, or a clip section. So this is the arrangement view, and this is the clip view. And in Ableton, it kind of looks like this. You can go to your clip view, and you could also just go to the arrangement view and, you know, build up your track like this, and lay it out and arrange it, and then go back to the clip view, and kind of make new ideas happen, and then take them and drag them over, you know. But you were always forced to use either this side in the clips or that side in the arrangement timeline, which is something that really got on my nerves after a while. And right now, as you can see, we're playing in here, and it's a normal song, right? But the cool thing is, and I prepared some extra clips for you, we can just simply swap single tracks here, going over to the clip view. So what does it mean? So as you can see, the track is still running with the lower three tracks here in our arrangement view, but now we can just pick this plugged track here and come up with different ideas, mess with them. The cool thing is, we haven't touched our track. Our track is safe. It's always like it always was. But now we can really just take single lines here, single tracks, and start and make different ideas happen, which is awesome for a good workflow. So here we are. We just have built some new thing here, some new clip, and it will gray out the one on the timeline and show you that it's running here now. And so you can make hybrids happen all the time to try new ideas, and you never have to mess with what you already laid out in arrangement, you know? So this means you could really have your tracks in here, and maybe you get tired after them after a while. You know, you get tired of playing them how they always are, and that they're always the same way. So using a different example, we go back to our timeline here, to our arrangement view, and you could one day decide to change your bass line. So this means you could leave your tracks as they always were and just try out some new clips here and just change the bass line on the fly, you know? We go back to the old one. I can also show you down here, I made a different clip. And you see how it grays out the one on the timeline, and we use those clips now. And if you want to go back, you just hit this button. Super easy and awesome. We just hit stop here and it stops the whole track from playing. And now we're back over here again. So if you've been in DAWs a while, this will really be making your day probably, because you know, we've been wanting this forever from DAWs, but they forced us to either work only in this, not even offering any clip launcher, or as Ableton has, you always have to pick one or the other. Now, to be honest, I am not 100% certain if they have fixed this in Ableton Live 10, because to me it's an error. You know, you should be able to use both and in combination. But Bitwig has done this from the beginning, which is something that I was just super thankful for and still am. And it's increased my workflow and improved it by, I don't know, 1,000-fold. So clip arrangement and or clip view and arrangement view simultaneously is probably one of my top 5 reasons. So that will serve as nicely as number 2 here. What else do we have? We have something called micro pitching. Now, what is that? For the ease of it, we'll remain with our track as we laid it out here. Which is this clip, simple 3-note chord. And I have prepared something which is the very same chord, but it looks a little funny. And I'm sure if you're an intuitive human, and if you have known your way around with notes a bit, you can already tell what this is. We can activate micro pitch here. And this means we can manipulate the pitch of every single note independently. So if we go back to our normal one, listen once more, it's just a straight chord, right? But with this one, we modify the pitch of the upper note, which sounds like this. And you can tell that the lower notes stay as they are. How awesome is that? I mean, because normally what you were forced to do, and let's go back to the arrangement view here. Normally what you were forced to do is to manipulate the pitch of the whole track like this. And this may sound nice or whatever, but you know, maybe you just want to, let's copy this one over again, and I should actually give these a name, a bit basic. And this would be upper shift. So here we could just go with the lower shift. We simply decide to go in here again. This normally is turned off, so you go ahead and turn it on. And we could decide to drop the bass note down and leave the others as they are. Maybe 2 semitones. And then maybe here we'll drop it down to the whole octave. And this number is always in reference, the number that you see here is always in reference to the semitone difference to the root, which is this, or to the note that you're messing with. Like this. Now granted, it's not easy to hear this because I've put a high pass filter on this. You know, but the upper notes are still as they are. And then of course you could go totally crazy and move the other one up after that and move the second one, you know, move the second one up to where the upper one was. I mean, you can just go crazy, and it's just like that. It's like 2 clicks, and you're not forced to try out so many things or like overthink things. You can just like make them happen. And this, of course, is awesome for build-ups and all kind of creating tensions and all these sorts of situations. So micro pitch editing, what an amazing thing. I always wanted it from DAWs, and things like Massive, you can kind of do it, but not really, because the notes always shift as one, and you cannot take single notes and make them shift in pitch. Unless you find some weird workaround, which was always frustrating to me. So the ability to shift single notes, even on a single track, independently from one another, is just a godsend. And I use it a lot. And of course, you can also use this with the sampler that comes with Bitwig and the awesome samples that come with it. They have a really good guitar sound that I used in one of my recent tracks, which can really sound like you know, like a tropical guitar, if you will. Can maybe make that happen here to kind of steal some more of your time, but if you're here, I'm sure you're interested. So let's see. That guy. I don't know which one. It doesn't really matter. And you can already tell, you know, a guitar may not be too good for this because the guitar has a natural way of a natural envelope, if you will. We go back to our second clip. Or we can make that easier, just delete all those. Go up here, 5 semitones, and maybe go like this. We'll put those up, 5. Well, this may look a little confusing to newcomers, I'm sorry. Like this. And you can kind of get that tropical feel. Like a bottleneck guitar almost. You can just manipulate them differently or similarly. You know, put some nice delay behind it. Like so. And the delay that we see here is due to my recording this, so where are we at? Whoops. You know, whatever you can think of. So this pitch correction is just really, really amazing. We can get rid of that sampler, go back to our sound. You know? I think you get the idea. Micro pitch editing. I'm never going back. I'm never going back. If a DAW doesn't offer this, I'm out because I really, really use it a lot. So what else do we have here? Well, one of the other cool things about Bitwig that most DAWs that I've worked with have never even talked about really, but it's on everybody's mind, is the following. If you have been in this game for a little while longer, let me see, where do I have it? I have it with the plugs. Go back to the arranger view here. There are certain plugins that I really like to use a lot, but the problem with them is that they are old, which is not a problem per se, but it means they are built on 32-bit architecture. And Bitwig itself is a 64-bit architecture, DAW. Now you might think, okay, cool, so how do you get this in there at all? And why are you happy about this? Well, because Bitwig doesn't care. Bitwig doesn't care. If we go to the settings here and to audio, let's see, where is it? Location, user interface, plugins. You can see here, independent plugin host process for 32-bit/64-bit. And you may have guessed it already, Bitwig doesn't care. You can use both. So this means you could use all your favorite 64-bit plugins in here, and the same chain, like this, use a 32. This is the granulizer, which comes for free, and you can download it off the internet. Just look for granulizer, and it works. You know? So this is awesome. You never have to worry about which version to install. It's like many people have some good plugins that don't run on 64-bit architecture, and they're forced to go to the 64-bit architecture anyways when installing their DAW because they want the new features or they want to use a newer synth that doesn't exist in 32-bit, but they want their old plugins. Well, with Bitwig, it doesn't matter. You can just put them all in a folder where your VSTs are. You can also note multiple folders and just throw them in, even in the same rack, even in the same track, and it just works, which is amazing. So you never have to choose again. You can use all your plugins. I mean, what's there not to like about that? And it runs, you know, it just never lets you down. It just works. And if we speak about letting down, let's come to my number 5 here. The letting down part with DAWs often comes from the very fact that your system will crash. Well, then that's always the dead end. You will have to restart your computer or something. But more often than that, the program crashes. It's like exiting it, you know, it crashes to desktop, or you get an exceptional error or whatever it's called. And your last hours, if you haven't saved properly, are gone. Or maybe it can help you. Maybe some of the DAWs offer an option to kind of recover when you restart the whole DAW and it goes through the motions. And then maybe if you're lucky, it says something like, try to recover your last project. But that hasn't always worked, and I find it kind of cumbersome because, you know, with all these third-party plugins, some of them being old and all, you know, it can happen more often than never that, you know, your whole program just crashes. The thing about Bitwig that makes it so unique is this whole program really is just the foundation. Bitwig is the foundation, and the whole thing that you're doing in it is running in a sandbox mode. So if it crashes, which I have no sure way to simulate for you, but if it crashes, which it sometimes does, like any other DAW, it will look like this. So you get an error or something, and all that happens is that the audio engine, as they call it, turns off. The program keeps running. It's all like it always was. So you don't crash to desktop ever, or you don't lose your file ever. All that happens here is the audio engine deactivates. And what do you do to restart the whole thing? No need to restart the whole DAW, no need to restart your computer. All you do is hit this button. And it will load your plugins that are active in the project. Here we are. So I haven't even saved it. I mean, I've saved it before this video, but since I started recording here, I haven't saved it. And this is just amazing because it will save you so much headache. Sometimes these plugins go off the board. Sometimes one you have modulated in a way that kind of kills your system in a way, and your RAM is all the way, you know, used up, or your processing power up here goes through the roof, and you've just made some mistake by like increasing the feedback to endless maybe or something. And you don't have to worry about all of this. Sometimes when it just gets worried or when it gets clogged up, you just deactivate it, or it crashes by itself. But this is as far as you'll get with the crash. So you can view this audio engine sandbox thing as a fuse. View it as a fuse like you have at home for your electricity circuits. before the whole electricity circuit in your apartment, fries, and you have to call the electrician, and he has to redo all the wires. You have this little fuse in one of your rooms, and you can kind of reactivate that fuse or swap the fuse, and everything's just working again. So this is my fifth reason that is just amazing about Bitwig. This total streamlined inclusion of the sandbox mode, of the sandbox thing, that also allows for including the 32-bit, 64-bit plugins. I mean, that is just awesome. So these are the reasons that I want to present today, why I chose Bitwig and why it's my favorite DAW after trying many of the others. And of course, I also put the link to bitwig.com underneath this video. They have an awesome demo that you can try on your computer, and it's really small, and you can just go with it and mess around with some things, and it's fully functional except for the exporting of tracks, of course. And I'm not quite sure about if you can save in that demo version, but other than that, it comes fully functional in version 2.31, I believe it is right now. And this is version 2.2. Still, but I mean, as I said, it's a young company and it's amazing, and I've been trying to get to become an affiliate for Bitwig, because I basically ran around the last 2 years making promotion for them and really telling everyone about it, because I'm so convinced of it and I love it. And so I figured I might as well ask them if I can earn some commission by referring people to it. So I will try to include the affiliate link that I have for Bitwig down here, and if you do decide to purchase Bitwig through that, you can help me out a bit. I get a little bit of percentage on your purchase with no additional expense to you. But even if you don't go through that and not sure yet or whatever, you don't owe me anything. I'm here to really showcase how awesome this program is and how much it has improved my workflow in creating music. Versus, pulling my hair out and going crazy for the most simple things that I want to do, where I end up, tweaking for like 5 minutes, a small idea that just takes seconds in Bitwig. So I will continue with these and do some many more videos on Bitwig to also do some tutorials and maybe some beginner videos if you have no idea what I've just been talking about these last half hour or how long this was. And yeah, thank you for your time, and happy tweaking. Bye-bye.